Welcome to In-Depth Academia. I'm Richard Price, CEO of Academia.edu, and today we're going to dive into a manifesto, a really honestly ambitious, all-exploring Bellisan Manifesto for Generation Computing. To remind you right at the top that I'm just the messenger here. I'm presenting the research itself, not endorsing or invalidating it, okay? This is about discussing new, not laying down the law. So let's keep an open mind and see what Bellisan is saying. So what's the core question driving this paper? Basically, Izan is asking, what should the future of cloud computing, like a world where tech is insanely fast, everywhere, but also maybe a bit too centralized? Why does that matter for you and me? Well, cloud computing powers you use every day, social media, health platforms, pretty much everything digital. But when it gets centralized into the hands of a few gigantic companies, we're talking about big questions of digital autonomy, privacy, and who gets to control your data. So Bellisan's manifesto is actually charting a future roadmap for how cloud tech could be more democratic, sustainable, sovereign. He talks a lot about sovereignty. All right, let's unpack some of the key findings and arguments. Again, not my stance, what Bellisan's putting out there. The first insight, cloud computing is a shift. It's moving away from these massive centralized centers toward what Bellisan calls a compute continuum of edge, fog, all blending together. Instead of all data off to some data center thousands miles, compute power is pushed closer to the source, like your own or a local hub. This matters tangibly, especially for that relies on speed, self-driving cars, or real translation. If your car to check in with California time, it senses a bump. Well, yeah, that doesn't seem it. Bellisan zeroes in on the technical revolution of Serverless Fabric. That phrase, fluffy, don't worry, the infrastructure for running software can spin up, scale, and disappear on its own, without babysitting servers. Imagine your app only uses energy the split seconds running, and the hardware can pop in and of existence in milliseconds. That's kind of wild, right? Then there's all this talk, the sovereign reference architectures. Sovereignty here isn't just about countries waving flags, it's about making sure you, the user, have. The architecture is built on trust, auditability, using things like blockchain, sovereign digital identity, instead of one centralized company handling your logins, strict data governance. If your medical data isn't supposed to leave your country, the system enforces that, not just policies on paper. If you're feeling a bit lost, there's a ton in here. The paper also spotlights some practical stuff like green cloud computing. Everyone says the cloud is floating over our heads, but reality is data centers are lots of power. By thinking about carbon usage, renewable energy, even how and where to shift digital workloads, there's a push for cloud to less of an energy hog. And maybe your data gets processed at the sun moment of the day, so it's more eco-friendly. That's pretty cool. A quick ration, if I may. Whenever I hear these phrases like compute continuum, my mind just goes sci-fi movies where the heroes are like uploading themselves into net, or the grid becomes sentient. Wait, what was the Tron called? Never mind, anyway. Stuff is sounding less and less like fiction and like real infrastructure talk. That's kind of bananas. Okay, so back to Bellisan. He discusses quant as a service. Quantum computing the cloud, instead of everyone building their own quantum computer, which, seems expensive. You'd access quantum horsepower on demand from anywhere. Plus, with new quantum tech, the argument is we'll need post-quantum encryption to everything. Old codes are toast, and more for the what's in it for you file. The manifesto talks democrat innovation. With these sovereign, flexible clouds, universities and organizations, even in the global south, can have access to AI, scientific modeling, and high-powered without needing billions of dollars in tech investment. Your country, your city, even you as an individual could be less reliant on A of megacore. But look, at the end of the Bellisan is offering a vision. It's not set in stone, and it's not the last word, just a sketch of possibilities. For you, the listener, maybe think, how do I want my digital future shaped? Do you want control, more transparency, or is king? That's for you to decide. Remember, academic research is a conversation, never truth, just a map exploring and reflecting. Thanks so much for tuning in to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, just your friendly paper examiner, not an advocate or critic. Keep questioning, reflecting, and I'll see you next time for another deep dive into the future of knowledge.